Have you ever been asked to do something that seemed impossible? Something that required you to leave everything you've ever known and step out into the complete unknown? That's exactly what happened to a man named Abram, in a moment that would change the course of history. Imagine standing outside your bustling hometown, a place filled with family, friends, and security, when a voice from heaven pierces the ordinary. Leave your country, your people, and your father's household. The voice commanded, "Go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation and bless you." This wasn't just a suggestion, it was a divine call, and with staggering faith, Abram obeyed. He, his wife, Sarai, and their nephew Lot packed up their lives and began a long, arduous journey. They crossed vast deserts and climbed rugged mountains, their destination a mystery, guided only by a promise. Finally, they arrived in the land of Canaan. There, God appeared to Abram again, reaffirming his promise with an even grander vision. "Look around," God said. "All the land you see I will give to you and your offspring forever. A great nation, an eternal land, a magnificent promise." But there was a glaring problem. Years turned into decades, and Abram and Sarai grew old, their home still silent, their arms still empty. The promised child was nowhere in sight. The weight of the waiting became almost unbearable. Sarai, her hope worn thin, watched the years steal her youth. "The Lord has kept me from having children," she reasoned, her voice heavy with sorrow. In an act of desperation, trying to help God's plan along, she suggested a different path. "Perhaps God's promise is through my servant Hagar." So, following the customs of the time, Abram had a child with Hagar, and Ishmael was born. But this human solution didn't bring the promised peace. Instead, it brought strife and heartache into their home, a painful lesson that God's plans don't need human shortcuts. The promise seemed more distant than ever. Was this how the great nation was supposed to begin? In conflict and confusion. The years continued to pass, and the silence from heaven was deafening. Abram was now 99 years old. It felt like the dream had died. Then, just when all hope seemed lost, God appeared again. The encounter was electrifying. "I am God Almighty," he declared, breathing new life into the ancient promise. "You will be the father of many nations." And with this renewal came a new identity. No longer will you be called Abram, but Abraham, meaning father of a multitude. His wife, too, received a new name. "Your wife Sarai will be called Sarah, and I will give her a son by you." The sheer absurdity of it struck Abraham. He fell on his face, not in worship, but in laughter, a laugh of disbelief. "Will a son be born to a man 100 years old?" he whispered to himself. "And will Sarah bear a child at 90? It was beyond comprehension, beyond logic, beyond anything he could possibly imagine. But the question hung in the air, a challenge to his limited perspective. Is anything too hard for the Lord? Shortly after, 3 mysterious visitors appeared at Abraham's tent in the heat of the day. Showing incredible hospitality, Abraham rushed to welcome them, preparing a lavish meal. During their visit, one of them asked a pointed question, "Where is your wife Sarah?" "She is in the tent," Abraham replied. Then came the stunning declaration, "I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah your wife will have a son." Hiding just inside the tent flap, Sarah overheard, and just like her husband, she laughed. A quiet, cynical laugh to herself. How could this be? But the visitor, who was no ordinary man, knew her thoughts. "Why did Sarah laugh?" he asked Abraham. "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" That question echoed again, silencing all doubt. And true to his word, 1 year later, the impossible happened. The tent once filled with sorrowful silence now echoed with the cries of a newborn. Abraham, at 100, and Sarah, at 90, held their miracle baby Isaac, their faces streaked with tears of pure, unadulterated joy. The promise was fulfilled. But the story doesn't end there. God's path of faith often leads to the highest mountains. After years of watching Isaac grow, the son of the promise, the miracle child, God spoke to Abraham again with the most heart-wrenching command imaginable. "Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you." The words were a dagger to Abraham's heart. The son he had waited a century for, the embodiment of God's faithfulness, was to be taken away by God's own hand. Imagine the agony, the confusion. Yet, through his grief, Abraham's faith held firm. He rose early the next morning, saddled his donkey, and began the 3-day journey with Isaac. He built the altar, bound his beloved son, and with a heart shattered but a will surrendered, he raised the knife. In that terrifying, silent moment between heaven and earth, a voice cried out, "Abraham, Abraham, do not lay a hand on the boy. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." Abraham looked up, and there, caught in a thicket, was a ram. God had provided. Abraham and Isaac embraced, weeping not in sorrow, but in overwhelming relief and awe. In that moment on the mountain, Abraham's faith was proven complete, because he was willing to give God everything. God renewed his promise with even greater power. "I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and as the sand on the seashore, ... and through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed." From one man's impossible journey of faith came a legacy that has shaped the world. Abraham is remembered as the father of faith, not because he was perfect, but because he chose to trust God's promise even when it made no sense, even when it cost him everything. His story teaches us that true faith isn't about understanding every step, but about trusting the one who guides our path. Thanks for watching. If this story of incredible faith inspired you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that explore the depths of history and the human spirit. We'll see you in the next video.